This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for Avoid the Maze. And Avoid the Maze is about the journeys we take through life. And I was on a journey, about a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed something about a person by the name of Jill Angelo. And I said, well, let me see who she is. And when I looked it up and I looked up her website, it was like, where was this person in my life a year ago? Um, and so I reached out and I said, Jill, we need you on because Jill and her organization, they talk about issues that all of us women are going through. And most of the time we have nobody to talk to. Um, maybe we have a sister who might listen, maybe we have a close girlfriend. But what I learned, I was going through pelvic floor issues. When the doctor explained it to me, I looked at them thinking like, I'm not on the floor. What are you talking about? But when they described it to me, I realized my mother had also suffered from this, but nobody gave her a name for it. So Jill, welcome to Avoid the Maze and give us a little bit of background. Who are you and why did you decide to dig into this deep mystery?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Karen, for having me, first of all. And wow, what an introduction. I love what I do. My full name, I'm Jill Angelo. I run a company called Gennev. That's Genev. Gen stands for generation. Nev in Old Irish means radiant. And so when I think about our women's health company and how we support women, we're supporting a generation of women who I believe are really heading into our most radiant years of our lives. So we're all about empowering women in their health, especially on the parts of it that are not always so easy to talk about. Gennev, if you go to our website, we are a virtually kind of an online clinic, if you will, focused on women's health in the post-reproductive years, menopause, you could call it, in many ways. And how we do that is we offer telehealth access to experts who can talk about pelvic floor health issues, or they can also prescribe medication where it's necessary. So we have an amazing team of gynecologists. We also have a team of health coaches that can work with women on more of the lifestyle changes that might need to be managed through this hormonal shifts in our bodies. And then we have a lot of free education and some wellness products as well. So that's really what we do today. And again, our mission is all about empowering women to really feel in control of their health.
Well, I know for the majority of my adult life, my gynecologist was always a male. And I had some wonderful doctors along the way, but I didn't always get all the information I thought I needed. And at one point, my oldest was about 12, 13 years old. And my current husband at the time and we were trying to conceive, and I wasn't getting pregnant. And nobody had any answers for me. And I didn't know how to really talk to the doctor about it at that point, because his comment was, well, you already have a healthy child. And it's like, that's true. But I had that child with my first husband. We want to have a child. I got pregnant so easily the first time. Why not this time? And when I asked him those questions, he actually then sat down with me and helped educate me. And I love him for that. But every doctor I had after he retired, it was always, well, it's just the way it is. Oh, it's the luck of the draw. When I was diagnosed with pelvic floor, again, it was by a male doctor. And as nice as he was, I just didn't understand the treatment he was doing. It just didn't make sense. And so I quit going to see him. I was going to do things on my own. I did some research, and the research wasn't helping me. But then I finally got introduced to a female gynecologist. And within 10 minutes, I understood why the previous doctor had tried to do what he was doing, because she explained it to me, woman to woman. Is that something that you're finding, that women have been going to male doctors? They've been great, but you know what? there's no connection.
Yeah, I think the male-female dynamic is certainly very much part of the physician understanding their patient dynamic. But I think at the same time, there's also a deeper reason. As women shift into post-reproductive years, there is next to no education for physicians of any kind around what menopause is, around its impact to the whole person, around how hormones impact things like our brain health or our hot flashes or our pelvic floor or our moods and anxiety or ability to sleep. And so if we go back to medical education, for gynecologists, it is an elective for like a quarter or a semester, so it's not very much. And
Wow.
for primary care physicians, there's really no menopause education. And so when you think about just the broader base of the medical profession, knowing what kind of questions to ask and when to probe further with their patient around an issue she might be explaining, instead you get a lot of those kind of dismissive comments because that's a little bit the way it's been. And I think we're trying to obviously change that or seek out the physicians that do have deep entrenched experience in working with women during this time of life. But it really stems back male dynamic. But honestly, our practitioners are female. They've all grown old with their patients over time. And so I think that matters in that environment or in that relationship.
So how do people know that you're even available? Because again, by accident, I found my gynecologist who I'm going to now, because I just said something in passing and it happened to be in the dental office. And there was a woman walking by and she like popped her head in and she said, "Oh, I've got a terrific doctor for you. My mouth is all, messed up." And I'm going, what are you talking about? And she goes, "I just heard you." And she said, "I'm going through the same thing." So if I hadn't been talking to the hygienist about it, I probably wouldn't have found her. So how do you reach out?
The predominant way that women find Gennev is because they've gone online and they're searching on a symptom that they might be experiencing, whether it's peeing my pants all the time, or whether it is, I just don't want to have sex anymore, or sex hurts, and that's how the majority of women find us. We've published a lot of free education with our medical team around these uncomfortable topics. And when women are searching for them, will pop up in the feed. That's predominantly how we're found today. Obviously, we're continuing to partner with medical organizations, retailers. We just rolled out in 550 CVS health hubs to not only bring our wellness products to women, but over time we hope to be working in those facilities to bring education to women. So we're trying to go where women go for their health and wellness needs. It's always a journey getting there, but predominantly today, if you want to learn a little bit more or find credible education, come to Gennev. That's really the main way a lot of women find us.
So you mentioned a topic that most women don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about it with their significant other, and that is pain upon intercourse. And I've had this my whole life. And I was told by a doctor, probably when I was 21 and first married, grin and bear it. And that's what I learned to do for a very, very long time. Upon divorce and starting to date again and having relationships, I was terrified. What is some guy going to say to me if he sees me crying in the middle of intercourse, or if I go, stop, it hurts. And so again, for years, I grinned and bared it. When I met my husband, and we've been together 37 years, God bless him, he is so understanding. And yet it hurts me sometimes to say to him, can't happen. I'm already in pain. And now the emotional thought of it. And I remember telling this to a girlfriend of mine, and she looked at me and she goes, oh, it's psychological, take a Valium. But it's not. It's a real phenomenon. So what you've sort of explained to me is a lot of these things don't even come up in medical school, that a gynecologist will know that if your pelvic floor is low in tip, it can be painful.
Yeah. It's a very real thing, and more women are experiencing it than they'll ever talk about. And that's why those of us who are willing to talk about it, we need to talk about it more, so that women are like, oh, I'm normal, there's not something wrong with me. When our physicians, so we are telehealth based, but a number of our physicians, in addition to doing the telemedicine, they also have a physical clinic where they
Sure.
see patients, but they work with women on this topic all the time. And they'll talk with you on remedies and solutions on how to mitigate it, before you might need something more, in terms of a treatment or something like that. There are a number of things that can be done. It isn't just in your head. It isn't just psychological, but it certainly plays with your head,
Oh,
because
yes.
who wants to just like be ready for intercourse when you're bracing, you're like clenching, you're tightening your body, because it's like our bodies don't love pain, and we have a reaction when we have pain. And so what our practitioners will do is, first of all, explain why it's happening and ask you a series of questions so that you understand why it's happening, and that it's not a response to your partner or to sex in general. There's more to it. And then once you're over that, they will start talking with the patient around how to improve it, whether it's starting with a simple lubricant, which that's not enough for many women, to talking about more in depth, whether it's prescription or treatment options. There are ways to manage through this. It doesn't have to hurt. And again, it's far more common than anybody will admit.
Well, and I also want to share with our listeners that I now understand that. I've been through, the very simple in the beginning. Let's try a lubricant. Let's try certain things. I've been through the physical therapy. And I've also learned that if my brain is not thinking pleasurable thoughts, it's not the right time for me. And again, you have to have these conversations with your partner, and hopefully a understanding partner. So one of the things that I noticed on your website, you have a free assessment. Talk to me about that free assessment. What does that entail?
So we continuously had women, or have women, coming to Gennev asking, am I in menopause? Or how long will it last? Where am I at in this transition? And because menopause, every woman goes through it, but we all experience it differently. Our chief medical officer, who's a board certified gynecologist, she's also an epidemiologist. She understands data and the human body. She built the assessment to help answer or take a few points of detail and information from women, and then provide a response to them in terms of where are you at in menopause, and really explain why you're experiencing the symptoms or the things that you've reported in the assessment. So it's very much a first step in getting women educated and comfortable what's going on in them. And then from there, we are evolving it over time to provide some simple recommendations. Just if you want to explore, get some guidance, the assessment can do that. I never will say that it replaces a conversation between you and a doctor or a health provider of any kind, but it's a wonderful information tool.
Well, and we all need a toolbox. Okay. So even before you go to talk to your medical professional, you don't want to walk in there feeling like you don't know what you're talking about. And I think that is excellent because, like I said, when I found this new doctor and I had been doing research, I actually went back to my GP and I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. What do you think? And he looked at me and he said, you know, I haven't been able to help you. It's not my field. And he admitted he had been online, he had looked at stuff. He said, but I don't know. He said, and so I'm not going to treat you for something I don't know. And I got so much more respect for him because we all go to the doctor expecting the doctor to have all the answers. And if they haven't taught it, if that's not their specialty, they're not going to have them. So talk to me a little bit about the people who I would be communicating with at Gennev. So, um, I'm having some symptoms. I don't know what they are. Maybe I do the assessment, to see if somebody can come up with something. But am I talking to doctors? Am I talking to nurse practitioners? Am I talking to psychologists? Who's your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, if you book an appointment, you can with two kinds of professionals, and we're very clear about who they are. You can book with a doctor, and they're all gynecologists, board certified gynecologists. They've gone through our own menopause protocols and training. Many of them are certified by the North American Menopause Society. So they're the best in class in terms of menopause care and treatment. Many women prefer to take more of a natural approach or work with a doctor and one of our health coaches. You can also book an appointment with a health coach. And our coaches are registered dietitian, nutritionists. They understand nutritional metabolism changes in the body as we go through hormonal shifts. They also help women with exercise and fitness, as well as really help women with emotional wellness needs. They're not psychologists, but they certainly can help a lot of our customers and patients with just the mood changes and some of the anxiety that we experience. Some of our patients will work with both. We have a membership option where you can sign up to get access unlimited to both a doctor and a coach if you want that kind of treatment. So we give women options for working with the doctor or the dietitian and health coach, or both of them. We believe that kind of formula is really the best way for women to find relief. 94% of our patients report an improvement in their symptoms. And so our practice is doing something right in terms of helping patients. And where we can't support a woman, whether it is needing to talk to a psychologist or see a PT for a pelvic floor exam, we will certainly make a referral.
So what made you decide one day to start Gennev?
I'm not a healthcare provider myself. I work my background's technology. I worked at Microsoft for a long time in my career. And about 5 years ago, I quit my corporate job to start Gennev just because, a couple things. Number one, I saw some women leaving the workforce and I was like, what's this about? I've always been passionate about women and girls development and health. And when I met my co-founder, who had been through menopause herself, she really helped me understand how underserved this whole community is in terms of their healthcare. And so one thing led to another, and we started Gennev. She's older now, she's not involved in the company, but she really built the Neutrogena brand and sold it to Johnson & Johnson, so had a rich background in serving and supporting women in a different capacity. And, just one thing led to another, and here we are. So it's just been an incredible journey, and I love every day that we do this.
Well, and what I love is that you became aware of what was happening around you at Microsoft, and not just at Microsoft, but out in the world where women it just becomes too much for us. I remember the first time I felt pelvic pain. I was newly married, and my husband said, you've got to get to a gynecologist. I can't deal with this. And I was helping put him through dental school. So, he had a lot of stress on himself. And now here I am stressed, trying to be the good wife and working. And I was referred to a doctor, and the doctor looked at me and said, I can get rid of your pain. Okay, I'm all excited. Tell me about this. He said, so you're going to come here for the next 6 months, and I'm going to give you these injections into your pelvic floor. And he said, we're just going to get rid of all the nerve fibers. And I said, well, what happens someday if I get pregnant? How will I know? And he said, oh, you'll know. And I went home and I told my husband at the time, and he looked at me and said, oh, this is great. Yay, yay, yay. It's going to feel good all the time for you. I said, no, there's going to be no feeling if he gets rid of all the nerve fibers. And he goes, but that's okay. You won't be complaining of pain. And I called my mother crying and I said, what do I do? She said, get a second opinion. I was 21 years old at the time, very young, very naive. I went and got a second opinion. The other doctor said, do not do that. Okay. But basically told me to grin and bear it. And then I called my mother crying and she said, yes. And that's when years later, I put it all together. We have the exact same thing. So what I love about what you have done and what you are doing is that your ears are open, you're listening, you're seeing, and you're bringing us all together so that we can have these conversations and get the treatment that is real. So we don't have to grin and bear it or give up the pleasure of it. So besides menopause, which I'm sure is a big area of that women are calling you and trying to get help, is there any other area of health that we need to be aware of?
First of all, thank you for sharing that story, because it's just reflective of the generations of how we, even as women, are becoming more aware, are willing to ask questions, and then find a solution. And we just have to keep supporting those that are coming up behind us,
Right.
to do that and advocate. In terms of additional women's health areas, so we know in menopause, the hormonal shifts that our bodies are going through are impacting, I often say menopause is the opposite of puberty. Puberty, hormones flooded our bodies and a bunch of changes happened. And now the hormones are leaving and a bunch of changes are happening. And a couple of those things we know is estrogen declines in our brain, prone to dementia or Alzheimer's. As estrogen, it's very helpful in our cardiac or our cardiovascular health. It's very helpful for our bones with osteoporosis and bone health. So when you think about how we manage our health during these hormonal shifts in perimenopause and postmenopause, that will impact our long-term chronic health around bones, heart, and brain. And if there's ever a direction as a company I want to grow and continue to support women with, I want to grow old with our patients so that what she's doing now are the right things, whether it's diet, whether it's medication, whether it's lifestyle, that will serve her for the long term with those kind of bigger, more chronic, sometimes scary areas of our health,
Right.
And make women just educated and aware of how preventative things they can do now so they live a long and healthy life. And so those are the three kind of areas as you talk about other aspects of our health. Please, in terms of working with your practitioner now or understanding these hormonal shifts happening, they will impact your bone health, your brain health, and your heart health. And you can do things now in this transition that will change your life down the road.
Well, and hopefully insurance companies will allow us to check out our bone health at younger ages. I was told after my son was born, I was 40 years old, and they said, you need a bone scan. And insurance said, we're not going to pay for it. And I had my first one done last year at the age of 70. And, I already have osteoporosis. It's being treated. But I do believe that if insurance had been a little kinder to the population, I'd probably be in better shape than I am now. However, one of the things I learned was just do what you can from here going forward. And I did a lot of research, and, you know, I was put on a medication and we think it's working, but then they told me the other day, if you want to keep working out and doing all the things that you're doing, we're going to change it, um, because we want to maintain good bone health. So if somebody is listening to this and says, well, my doctor doesn't listen to me, I don't have a mother, a sister who wants to listen, what would you recommend? They just come out to the website and check it out, do the assessment?
Yeah, and there's many women who feel alone, that they don't have anyone to talk to. Come to Gennev.com, sign up to get on our newsletter. You also can access our private Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, it's called Midlife and Menopause Solutions by Gennev, or sign up for our newsletter and you'll see a link for it there as well. That community, it's private. You apply to get in. We welcome women from all over, and it is a community of supportive women. Our physicians, our health coaches pop in there from time to time. It's a place to share what you're going through, to hear what other women are going through. You don't have to participate. You can just listen and lurk. But it's a place for support. And so if anything, take the assessment, get educated, join our community, and just learn a little bit. And if you do want to meet with a practitioner and you don't have a doctor or a health provider that you feel is helping you, reach out to one of ours. We've got providers in all 50 states, and we love helping women.
Well, I'm so glad that we connected, because this is an important issue. We are going to put a link to your website on our website, because I don't want anybody to feel like they are alone. I went too many years like that. I refuse to do it anymore. In fact, I had a virtual visit with a doctor today, and he said he was so glad that I had connected with him, because he's the only one in the Cleveland area who takes care of an immune issue that I have. And I heard about him by accident, and it was like, again, keep your ears open, listen, ask questions, because it's really important. And women are important in our future. So, Jill, thank you for joining us. And, you came from a great background at Microsoft, but I'm glad that you're helping in a different way now.
It's even more fulfilling. It just fills my heart. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing, and that you're using this platform to reach more women. It's really important. We all need to do it. So thank you.
Well, we're all on a journey, and let's make that journey pleasant. Have a great day. Thank you.